staff and students have received an email yesterday from UCT. It pointed out the fact that there's a worker and student boycott of a number of cafeterias at UCT on the basis of victimisation of the workers and the boss's refusal to recognise Nahawu. But most importantly, the email showed us the problem with outsourcing. The underlying message was this: the workers are being exploited under our noses, but that's not our problem. It's not our problem because they're not directly employed by UCT. This is outsourcing. At this university, we pay our workers below the poverty line. We, ourselves at the School of Economics, have worked out how much we think an average person must earn to provide themselves and their family with adequate food, health, and shelter. And yet management allows the workers at this university to be paid less than this benchmark that we ourselves have set. We wash our hands of this by saying it's not us. We're not the ones who underpay our cooks, cleaners, drivers, gardeners, and so on. So it's not our responsibility to think about or deal with it. The companies that employ them, be it Supercare, Toughworks, Big Chef, Metro, C4S, G4S, C3, Sibanye, and more. It's these companies that underpay. This is what outsourcing means. It means that UCT, a public institution, can avoid accountability for the exploitative practices it creates. And so it allows these things to happen. UCT can, however, choose to influence the contractors that we pay. UCT dictates, as a condition of these contracts with these companies, the minimum amount that they must pay their employees. How do we work out what we think these cooks deserve to be paid? Do we turn to our own academic research and make the amount that is at least the wage that they can live on? A minimum wage is not a living wage. No public institution should pay wages which are as low as our workers receive. The current measure that is used to determine what the wages should be is called the supplemented living wage, an outdated apartheid-era way to justify low wages. Workers still receive poverty wages, and management and council continue to use outsourcing as a way to be held unaccountable for the exploitation that workers, exploitation of workers at its own campus. The excuses continue. Another way we avoid blame is saying that these aren't core services. So we're acting in some perfectly rational, non-racist way of outsourcing the particular jobs that we outsource. Make no mistake, that's not the logic that determines whether a job is or is not outsourced. For example, our shuttles are run by a mix of people employed directly by UCT and by Sibanye, the outsourcing company. The timetables are drawn up by well-paid UCT employees, while the buses are driven by badly paid Sibanye employees. This isn't about non-core jobs. It's about jobs typically done by people we have the power to bully into accepting low wages. This is outsourcing. UCT continues to be deeply embedded with an institutional culture of class-based prejudices. In 1999, Mampela Rapela decided that it is no longer feasible to grant fee rebates to workers who fall within some certain pay class. And yet, we are able to continue granting rebates and other benefits to our academic elites. An argument often used to justify outsourcing is that we just can't afford to do otherwise. Last year, we paid Sibanye 27 million rand to provide shuttles and drivers according to our specifications. The same year, UCT's own finance department worked out that to buy all of the shuttles and employ all of the drivers as better paid UCT employees with retirement funds and medical aid would only cost 28 million rand. 1 million rand more than we pay Sibanye. We now know that Sibanye has been overcharging us for these shuttles. The individuals who own Sibanye profit very nicely for themselves from the public funds and student fees that we pay for this university. And so what did council do when they found this out? Did they say, wow, we didn't realize we could afford to pay Jamie shuttles a reasonable amount. Our next contract for shuttles will be less than 27 million rand, and so we'll use what's left over to give the shuttles drivers a reasonable salary. No, of course not. We're just going to save this money and leave the shuttle drivers with the same salaries, where they will continue to not receive public benefits like medical aid. We can afford to pay the workers more. We can afford to insource. We just don't want to. We don't want to insource. We here means an out-of-touch, racist, old management with the permission of an apathetic student body.
Yes.
This university should be run by its students. It is run by its students. Only we've let some old white men do a bunch of really evil things. In our name, while we look the other way. We've demonstrated the fact that it's really us who run this university by removing the statue of Rhodes.
Yes.
Now it's time to get rid of outsourcing. We cannot continue to tolerate the exploitation, victimization, and intimidation of outsourced workers. We cannot continue to not take responsibility when we are responsible. We demand that outsourcing becomes a principled commitment of a decolonized African public university.